so hard to do work. I mean, this is where I am. This is what we do. Because of a catastrophic failure in leadership. Can we talk about that?
Exactly.
All right. No matter where you're going to vote, y'all know the
Right.
truth. It's just whether
Okay.
or not you want to do something about it or not, isn't it?
Exactly. Do you want to live in this current state of political affairs?
It came out the man's mouth.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Woodruff report.
Yeah. He knew.
He knew.
He knew. He knows, and he's still playing it down.
Yes. And doesn't care.
Does not care. Has known since February.
Oh. Look,
And
so go ahead.
I was saying that that's funny because he would say before the Woodruff thing came out, that he would say that he didn't know, or people would say, "Oh, he didn't know it." And I'm thinking it was on the BBC. It was in global news because it had hit China and Italy and I think Spain. And how did you not know that? Well, now riddle solved. We know that he knew,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
But this, this is just part of his MO, and we have seen where he's done this countless times before, and his posse seems to just turn their head.
Yeah, yeah. And if anybody is wondering what we're talking about the Bob Woodward tapes that came out about the president, and
Yes.
the president is on tape. You can audibly hear it that he says that he knew about the virus. He knew how potent the virus was, what a deadly virus it was, and that he was going to play it down, and that he continues to play it down. So if you haven't heard that, that's, yeah,
And
not
still,
good. And still playing it down, yes,
yes.
and still holding rallies with little to no mask, still having large indoor gatherings, etc., and so on and so on.
Herman Cain kicked the
Herman
bucket
Cain,
because of this stuff,
yeah, after going to a Trump rally in June,
and no
he
one seems
died.
to even
Even care. It's
just
like,
just
oh,
pandemic
okay.
roadkill.
You know what? That's a very good term.
Yeah.
That's exactly how they're treating him
Yeah.
or treated him. Yeah.
Yeah. And the 190,000 plus lives.
Yep. That were
They said
lost.
we were going to reach 200,000 by September. I think we're going to make our goal.
Yeah.
It's so
Unfortunately,
sad.
it is. It's so sad, so unnecessary. Such a, like you said, a catastrophic failure of leadership,
And
and
now
such
we
a
we got people dying on the West Coast because of these fires.
fires. It's
3,000 I heard.
it's a disregard for human life, and I just don't understand it. For even just human dignity and decency,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And okay, so that's death. That's
Hmm.
final. It's could have been avoided. I look at New Zealand and I'm like, oh my gosh, if we had just stayed our behinds at home for the
Mm.
duration, we could be back to work. We could be back to school. We could be back to small business. We could be back to all of it.
Hmm.
Look at Wuhan, China.
Yeah.
They're having these massive gatherings. Did you see the big wave pool that they at this concert they had? Like
No.
they're circulating
No.
like
Yeah, I didn't see that. And Wuhan is bigger than New York City, just for
yeah.
those that don't know. I have heard, that they've had small breakouts, but what they've done is because they have such a good tracking system that they're able to track where the virus is popping up to do really good contact tracing and then mitigate the virus in that way. But we're not, and I don't know if it's necessarily all the government's fault, state or federal government's fault. But I think that we as Americans, we kind of think that we're going to forge our own path and we're going to do what we want to do. And
It's
that's what,
American exceptionalism on
yes,
steroids.
on steroids. And a public health, you can't solve a public health crisis with a political solution.
Yeah.
The virus doesn't respect your personal wishes. It doesn't respect your political affiliation. And so, because you're tired of sitting in the house or you're tired of doing this, I get it, but the virus doesn't, and it's never
Yeah. And
get
you
it.
know what? I lecture twice a week at TCU online, and the college campuses are struggling
Yeah,
because you can't keep college kids apart. You just can't.
no, no, and
And
they're not kids. They're not 3-year olds. who they are saying don't transmit the virus as well. These are adults.
These are
I mean, you're
adults.
young adults, but they're still adults, and they're dealing with faculty, staff, other dorm staff who are even older than they are. And some of these campuses, they're commuter campuses. Who are they taking the virus home to?
Yeah.
They're in congregate classroom spaces. Whether or not they live on campus, they're taking that someplace else. They're going out in the
So
community. Right.
TCU opened up the campus, invited everybody back to be in
Oh,
their dorms, be in their yeah, the sorority houses, the fraternity
wow.
houses, yeah. And
Oh, so they're
they're
practicing good social distancing there. Oh yeah,
no, because
yeah.
there's a whole
I can
sorority on
imagine that.
lockdown right now. And when I say a whole sorority, I'm talking about a whole white sorority. You know how big those are,
Hmm.
undergrad.
Yeah.
And week by week, I get a student that says, I contracted it. I got tested positive. Here's my doctor's note. And, I had a moment yesterday where it was just too much. It was just too much. I really just kind of choked up. They had fall convocation, and to add to it, the concert chorale, which I used to be a member of,
Mm.
is socially distanced, and Robert Carr Chapel is the most beautiful setting that they did the video in. They all have on masks, and they're singing "This Little Light of Mine," an old Negro spiritual, which, by the way, when I was in the chorus, the director didn't believe in integrating black music into what we were doing. So to see them sing that and then know the cultural context too,
Mm.
I couldn't take it. I was in tears. It's Moses Hogan. It's like one of the best arrangements ever in life.
Okay.
And I
Wow.
was just sending it to people saying, I dare you not to cry. Try not to cry. You're
Okay.
pathetic if you don't cry.
Right.
But that's where we are. This is, I
Yeah.
mean, just the other day, Joni was like, we just don't have fun anymore, mommy, And I'm trying to think of
Mm.
things that we can do that
Right.
are safe.
Yeah,
And they're few
I've
and far
noticed
between.
people with kids, friends of mine that have children about her age, are running into that. We don't do anything fun anymore. You're seeing a little bit of depression. You're seeing them being socially withdrawn from other people, other
Yeah.
children, just because of what's going on with the virus of where we are now. So,
Yeah. So, on top of the fact that both of our Disney trips were canceled and there were just no vacations, because we
right,
usually do that. We go to Disneyland in the spring and Disney World in the summer, and in between, we're everywhere else.
right.
Besides all the business trips that I'm on, speaking and going on. She doesn't go on those, but that gives her an opportunity to go stay at Gabby and Papa's, something like that. And I've been trying to figure out where can we go that's outdoors, that's safe. And then she starts a new school where she hasn't been able to meet any of the kids. She sees them all on Zoom,
Wow.
but she's not able to really socialize.
Mm.
And now I'm like, hey, do you want to have a Zoom play date? She's like, over those.
Oh yeah,
Like, no.
yeah.
Yeah.
She feels like how I feel about some Zoom birthday parties.
Yeah, yeah. Like, don't.
No,
I know you mean well, but
it's not
no,
the same.
no. And
It
then
is good to see people, but yeah, it's not the same.
on the same note, you could be doing video chat all day long. Work, home, school, church.
Yep.
Yesterday was Yanni's birthday.
It was, sweetie. We got to FaceTime her, okay? All right. Her cousin turned 10 yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So we got to make sure we say hi and happy birthday. But yeah, and some adults I've noticed, and I haven't noticed a difference in the cultures at all. I used to think that when we saw the numbers that black folks and Latinas were getting hit hardest, that we would be the most cautious. But you have an Instagram feed just like mine.
Yeah.
And what are you seeing?
Well, I live in Georgia, so I'm seeing wide open hinges off the door,
Yes.
club going.
Yes.
I'm seeing bottles popped,
Mm-hmm.
people in the streets. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
With and without
Restaurants
mask.
without a mask. Yeah, I mean restaurants. I've seen distancing because I have been out to restaurants. I've seen distancing there. I see
Yeah, they
masks there, but
try.
you try. I mean, of course, when you're eating, it's a little harder, but
Yeah.
when we're talking about a club, we're talking about congregate outdoor spaces. I'm seeing a lot of that.
I did a patio, social distance patio
Yeah.
with one
Okay.
other person, and I got
Hmm.
to tell you, I was freaked out the entire time
Yeah.
because I hadn't been out since March.
Hmm.
And I was like, excuse me, but I'm feeling some kind of way.
Right.
And
And
I'm
then
also thinking
little.
about the risk. You know, I got my little one here. I've got grandparents a
Mm,
couple of blocks, no, a few blocks away.
yeah.
And we're triangulating, trying to take care of one another.
Okay.
And gee, how often can I do this and not bring something home?
Right. Yeah. And I work out outside, which is an easy way of social distancing. I do have one workout indoors, but it's still half in, half out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. Because then on the other end, whereas you may be mentally and socially unhealthy because you're sitting in the house all the time, then you're getting physically unhealthy because it's harder to move around.
That's my deal.
Yeah, I'm I'm scared of gyms.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
I picked up a treadmill about 4 weeks ago. Had one
okay,
delivered. It took forever to get here. Because in Texas, it got hot. You know, we finally got a little fall weather, but
okay,
it's not, you don't get fall football
yeah,
weather until like almost
November.
mid October, November, right?
Right.
So we get a little snap, we get excited, but it's still hot outside. So I got my little, treadmill, but life takes over too.
Hmm.
And it takes some kind of discipline on top of having a little one in the house that needs you every moment.
Right.
And then by the time it's like, oh, I got time to do it, you're exhausted.
I think we all feel like that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Kids, no kids.
Oh,
Work
yeah.
from home, work from the office.
Look,
Gym,
I,
no
I
gym. Yeah.
explain to everybody, especially my clients, if you're not sick, if no one in your family is sick, you are still traumatized by what is happening right now.
Yeah.
And I had a girlfriend text me the other day and say, it's been hard to get out of the bed.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, this is a real thing. We forget it's a real thing
Yeah.
bearing down on all of us in different ways.
Yeah. It just shows up, like you said, in different ways.
Yeah. So we've got to be practicing the self care, and if you're not getting all the physical in, you got to get the mental
Yeah.
and the spiritual. You got to take care of
Got it.
you because this is a booger, and we don't see the end in sight. Now they say there is a vaccine in trial, several actually. The
Mm.
one that's closer than others, but they had a little bit of a setback just the other day. Matt, would you take the vaccine if it was ready in the next month or
Absolutely.
so?
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
I was gonna say you
No.
first.
No.
I
No.
watch.
I'm not. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with somebody promoting a vaccine for me who just said that you could use sunlight and bleach a few months ago to cure yourself or someone that you love of
Yeah,
coronavirus. I don't think so.
yeah, and
No. I'll keep green juicing and citrus
yeah,
and all those different things to keep my immune system up. But
and watching the medical professionals who probably be the first to be in line to take it say, "I'll wait." It's enough for
exactly
me.
right. Are these
Oh,
pharmacists and scientists that are developing this? Are they taking it? Because yeah, no.
and who's getting paid?
Who's getting paid? Follow the money. You always, always, always have to follow the money.
Yes.
I
So
don't want you rushing a vaccine and
oh, so Dr. Fauci says that we probably won't even get any sense of normalcy until late 2021.
that sounds about right. Yeah, I saw he said that, and it makes sense. I mean, because if you're just now getting a vaccine, there's probably going to be, well, there's already been, and probably going to be more hiccups with that. And so, when you're thinking about the school year, the sports seasons, the weather changes. Remember we got flu season right around the corner. How is that going to affect people? Flu season usually lasts until what, February, March, maybe.
Yeah.
And so
And
by
in
the
some
time,
of these situations, we think we're being safe. But in all honesty, we don't know how this thing is transmitted.
Mm. Yeah.
And now we've gotten to the point where can we even really trust what the CDC is saying because they've held back before.
They've
We know
held back.
that.
They've held back, and they have been encouraged
Yes.
to hold back.
Yes.
And so I think that what is, from at least from the outside looking in, what I think is going on is that they're doing the work.
Yeah.
It's that the powers that be at the uppermost reaches of the federal government are holding them back. They're
Yep.
not just sitting there filing their nails at their desk all day. That is definitely not happening.
Right. Hey,
So
Joni, log on. It's time. And you know, some of these things I leave in the show these days, just so people
okay,
know how life has changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real
Go ahead and log
mom,
on, honey.
mom and businesswoman type thing.
Yeah, I know, honey, but it's 9:50. Yeah. This is how our lives have been impacted by this crap.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody wants to see how how my life has been impacted by this.
Yeah. Yeah. So election season is here and November is right around the corner.
7 weeks away.
And so people are very concerned about the outcome. Either way, that
Hmm.
people are going to flip their lids. What are you
Yeah.
hearing about that?
Well, that is a possibility. That is definitely how, if Trump were to lose, how will he give up that, or how will he transition the power over to Biden? If Trump wins, then how far do we have to dig in, or what are our means of looking into the obvious voter suppression and vote tampering that's going on? I'm not saying that just because if he wins it means it's vote tampering. It's because that's what's already going on,
Yeah.
and
Well, and
that's
then go ahead.
confirmed information. No, I was just saying that's confirmed information
Yeah.
about what is going on with the Trump campaign, with Russia wanting to getting in the election again, and being stopped at a few different points.
Yeah.
You know?
And then the pandemic. Is it prolonged? Are we looking at 2022? Because you talk about people not wearing masks now, they could be footloose and fancy free.
Right, that's true. And then you look at, I mean, not to go back that far in history, but when you look at the Spanish flu of 1918, that lasted about 2 years as well,
Yeah.
and we were in the middle of a world war at that time,
Yeah. And it's
which
sad
really,
because we got way more technology now.
yeah, and supposedly way more smarts and intelligence,
Yeah.
and like you said, technology, information at our fingertips, and we're just, in some cases, not
Yeah.
following what we need to do.
How can we end this on a happy note? Is
Mm.
there anything happy? Because I'm about to go in here and console my little girl because she's a little upset right now. And I'm feeling her pain.
I feel her pain. I think that the happiest thing that I can think of, you mentioned it earlier, was self care.
Yeah.
I think if everybody takes that moment, those moments for yourself, and just realize that you're doing the very best you can, keep it up. You are enough,
Yeah.
and that this too, whatever your this is, shall pass.
Yeah.
Um,
And you know what? We're practicing gratitude in this house. So every night
good,
before we go to bed, we talk about happy things.
exactly.
And
Writing
that
those
helps us to
down,
sleep.
and,
Yeah.
yep, and just
So,
letting things go, and it will it will be okay, whatever your
yeah.
it is.
Where can everybody find you, Matt?
Well, the best way to find me is on social media, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Those are all at Mr. Prune Juice. That's Mr. Prune Juice, all one word. You can follow me there. Please click subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on IG and Twitter. I talk about politics all the time, specifically on Twitter. So that's a great way of keeping up with me. And I'm really excited because I'm doing some videos very soon, starting back up my video series. So that's really exciting, great way for me to talk about politics in very short, kind of 5 to 8 minute clips that are really
Yeah.
people to
I love
understand.
it. I'm going to check it out. Everybody, Matt Stevens. Thanks so much for
All right.
coming on, Matt. You take
Thank you so
care.
much,
Be
Matt.
well. Hang
All
in
right,
there.
you too,
All
and
right.
Joni as well.
Yeah. Bye
All right.
bye.